microphone number 1 now.
Yes, Sean Colburn. I have a couple questions.
And what's your town, sir?
Canton.
Thank you.
The other night when you guys had met with the audit committee at Town Hall, there were some questions regarding the Sallyport video. Could you give us some insight on what transpired with the Sallyport video? That I think Brian made a comment that there are 28 cameras located in and around the Canton Police Station, and that the Sallyport video was filming it with a motion activated camera. Could you give me some insight onto, because you made a comment that the cameras were replaced or not replaced at a certain time, and I would just like some clarity on what you were told by the IT director, Louis Jutras, on when the cameras were or were not replaced, what cameras inside the Sallyport were being recording inverted, and if in fact, I understand that you guys are not here to conduct an investigation, but when he told you that those Sallyport cameras inside were motion activated, did you ever think of stepping outside the door and stepping back inside the garage and seeing if your movement was actually captured and it was inverted?
No to that question. I'll answer your other question. When we sat down with
specific with the dates on when IT Director Louis Jutras told you that the cameras were not to be touched by an authority, whether it was the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, whether it was Helena Rafferty.
We didn't ask him those types of questions. We asked him, how many cameras are there in and around the Canton Police Department? He noted there was 28, most of which are analog. I think there's 2 IP cameras. We asked him regarding the mirrored camera. There's 1 mirrored camera inside the Sallyport number 3. There's also a couple other in the town. The Canton Police Department didn't go up there and hit mirrored 20 years ago when they installed the camera. We know that because we had a discussion about that, because there's other cameras in town that were installed by whoever installed them 20 years ago. And I'll answer your question again. No, when we met with him, we didn't walk downstairs from the conference room, walk into the Sallyport to see if the camera was working. That wasn't in our scope of work. Further, we did not look at any videos from Karen Reed's vehicle when it was there from January 29th to February 2nd. Wasn't in the scope of work. We're not there to review what was on the camera or what wasn't on the camera.
Okay.
Okay, you're actually out of time, and
I asked one question. I don't think the response was I out of time? Was my 2 minutes up on a question?
Yeah, you were out of time. I'm so sorry. Well, if you want to ask a really quick follow-up question, go ahead.
Yeah, it is a follow-up question. The other night, when David Clow, who's a member of the audit committee, asked a question about 42 minutes of missing video, Brian had made a statement. You're both Brian's, correct? No? Well, you made a statement about gold being on a table and disappearing doesn't mean that the gold was there or whatever. And there was also a statement made that the cameras were not to be touched, that they were told, Louis Jutras was told that the cameras were not to be replaced by an authority.
Yeah,
whether it was
the mirrored camera has not been replaced. It's still in the same way it was when that vehicle was driven in on January 29th. The mirrored camera you're talking about, it's still in place. And
it is still in place to this day? It is
still in place because there's a prosecution going on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're supposed to end at 5 o'clock. I see we've got 3 people waiting to ask a question. Are you okay with that? All right. We'll go to microphone number 3. That's you, sir.
Okay,
microphone number 3.
Thank you. My name is Peter Murphy. I live in Marshfield, Mass., and I was a 30-year affiliate of the Canton Police Department. The last 22 years I spent as a sergeant. I believe I've met Brian and Matt up here and also the other gentleman who was a state trooper at the library when they gave their proposal. We can agree, gentlemen, that we're cops, right? We know this business inside and out, 30 years, 30 years, 30 years. I guess I want to ask you a simple question. If it was your family member laying in the snow on that morning and sometime after 6:06 a.m., the process of the investigation went ongoing and continued. There were no pictures taken. There was possible exigent circumstances where a protective sweep should have been done. Everybody on that department knows that Brian Albert was in a fugitive unit and a gang unit. There could have been multiple decedents or victims around the property or in the house. Nothing took place to assure that that victim on the ground was the only victim. And what I'd like to suggest is the crime scene became twofold, sir. It went from the ground into the ambulance. Had a police officer, which I had to dispatch many times on crime scenes I was on, gone in that ambulance and witnessed clothing being cut and the marks on the right arm, it would have been pretty apparent to a Cub Scout that there was a lot going on there, and perhaps maybe a taillight didn't do that. Maybe it was some sort of another physical attack. Would you have been happy if it was your family member and satisfied with that investigation? Or could that investigation concluded it was not Alexa's taillight and Karen Reed, is factually innocent?
I'm going to take that as more of a statement versus a question.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to answer, because that's not a question. You just got on your soapbox and you made a statement. You assumed a lot of things that didn't happen. I don't know.
Okay, folks, we can't hear the answer if you're drowning out the speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a question, so I'm not going to answer it, especially when you're talking about an ongoing investigation.
Thank you. We'll go to microphone number 2.
Thank you, Ms. Moderator. Greg Murphy, Canton.